Are you looking for good PlayStation 4 games? I am there for you. In my list, I present you to the top 10 best PlayStation 4 games that you can play now and should. We include all titles that have been appeared since the Sony console was launched in 2013. The rules of the game for our list. Sales figures are not to be equated with quality. Our leaderboards are not objective. We chose the game that we liked in the additional team or what we consider important for the respective console for the reason described. We only include exclusive items in the list. If they came out as remaster for other console years later, we will let that apply. However, time-exclusive deals from the start do not count. There are also expansions for the game that have also appeared on platforms from former manufacturers such as Sega. Only one game per series. We only make expectations if a second title was too important to the development of the series of games, in general to be ignored. Let's start with the list. On my number 10 is Shadow of the Colossus remake. With the remake of Shadow of the Colossus, Team ICU is bringing one of the most beautiful games of the PlayStation 2 era to the PlayStation 4 in a beautiful HD look in 2018. In the role of the lonely hero wanderer, ride our horses aggro through a deserted world. Our goal is 16 Colossi to defeat in order to bring our beloved back from the realism of death. The game consists exclusively of boss fights, each of which requires an individual strategy. The special thing about Shadow of the Colossus is the melancholy and politically sad atmosphere. We quickly question our actions. What have the awesome beings done to you? Why do you have to die in such a cruel way? This reflection in particular makes the adventure unique and one of the best games ever on the PC4. On my number 9 is Until Dawn. Until Dawn is all about the consequences of our actions. Although the horror adventure is in large parts more of a film than a game, we still make most of the decisions ourselves, sometimes with unpredictable results. We control the fate of a group of teenagers who, as befits teen slashers, have withdrawn to a lonely mountain hut to celebrate. But they are not as alone as they thought. Axe-murderers, killer clowns, and an indefinable horror from the forest ensure one moment of shock after another. We decide how to proceed. Is it the defenseless blonde hiding under the bed, or is she running towards the basement, where a gun might be found? The decision is always up to us. Combined with famous actors who motion capture the characters to life, Until Dawn really makes us feel like we are playing our very own horror movie. Next up on my list is Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 is the 6th installment in the Ultimate Ninja Storm series. In the fighting game, the characters from the manga and anime series Naruto compete against each other in 3D arenas. This time the wall run returns from the first part of the series and it's possible to switch characters during the fights. Also, weapons and armor can break in the heat of the moment this time around. The ability to choose one of the 3 different fighting styles is no longer available, as in the predecessor Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Revolution. Ninja Storm 4 is supposed to end the story of the predecessor. I would highly recommend this for Naruto fans, and I hope you give it a try. On my number 7 is Nioh 2. Nioh 2 is even harder, even more cruel, even meaner than its celebrated predecessor Nioh, but turns out to be a better game and has therefore made it in our top 10 and replaced the debut. Nioh 2 relies on action-packed combat system that is based on Dark Souls. Samurai we swing katana, double axes and the like and use them to beat yokai demons to a pulp, as long as they don't attack our throats themselves beforehand. The hard level of difficulty is namely the figurehead of the action RPG and demands stamina and frustration resistance. But as in Dark Souls or Bloodborne, the same applies here. If you show patience and the will to learn and master the challenge, you will be rewarded with a priceless feeling of happiness. In addition to new weapons and skills, Nioh 2 offers a greater variety of opponents and varied boss fights, whose unique moves challenge us even more than the predecessor. On my number 6 is Infamous Second Son. After successful offshots on the PS3, the Infamous series returned in 2014 and brought with Infamous Second Son, one of the first major and inclusive titles for the PlayStation 4. And the developers of Sucker Punch Productions have put a lot of effort into this, because Second Son is significantly larger, fancier and more complex than its predecessor. This is what it's all about. We slip into the role of Delsin Ruth, a new and much younger protagonist who absorbs the forces of other conduits. A cool skill. Due to the events of Infamous 2, however, all conditions are now classified as bioterrorists and Delsin must defend himself against the pre-sanctioned by the DUP organization. The special thing about it, in the open world of Seattle we can learn new skills, explore the game world and with the help of Karma system decide to use our forces for either good or bad. In particular, the graphics of Infamous Second Son caused open mouths and set the standard for upcoming open world titles on the PlayStation 4. My 5th place took Ni no Kuni 2. Although Ni no Kuni 2 was no longer made with the official support of the Japanese studio Ghibli, the game cannot deny its fairy tale origins. In the action role-playing game, we accompany the young King Even, who loses his throne to the cub at the evil Red King and has to completely rebuild his kingdom. To do this, he gathers allies across the continent, leads his army in battles against marauding bands of robbers, and at the same time builds his former refuge into the most influential city in the country. In contrast to his predecessor, the combat system has been completely overhauled and is now much more action-oriented. We always control one of 3 party members, the others are controlled by the computer. Ni no Kuni 2 not only impressed with its length of up to 90 hours of playing time, but also tells a story that hits us right in the heart with its innocent but foresighted manner. On my number 4 is Detroit Become Human. Detroit Become Human is the next adventure from Quantic Dream after Heavy Rain. This time it's about the life, love and suffering of artificial intelligence. In Detroit's vision of future, people develop androids to do simple work for them. When a small number of androids wake up, that is, develop their consciousness, society as a whole has to deal with what it means to be human. We follow the story of 3 robots who are right in the middle of the action. Again and again, we have to decide how the robots act and thus in turn how the public will react to them. Are we leading the machines in a peaceful revolution, or is the world threatened with a bloody uprising? The decision is ours. Now we are going to continue with my top 3 and start with The Last of Us Part 2. The story of The Last of Us Part 2 begins 4 years after its celebrated predecessor. In the role of Ellie, you travel through post-apocalyptic America to seek revenge after a gruesome event in the city of Jackson. Like the first part, The Last of Us 2 consists of a mix of stealth and action sequences, but this time in much larger areas. No other AAA game before has managed to interface storytelling and gameplay as originally as The Last of Us 2. The game grabs you from the first second and is immediately drawn into a vortex of unforeseen events and violence. Yes, the latter is an integral part of the game and is shown more relentlessly than seldom before, but without appearing glorifying or even unnatural. The Last of Us 2 is not a pleasant game, but that's exactly why it was such an outstanding experience. On my number 2 is Persona 5 Royal. In Persona 5, accompany a group of young people who go to school during the day and scurry through dangers as phantom thieves at night and beat up monsters in turn-based battles. The combination of social management and turn-based combat and dark dungeons make it so varied that we often have the feeling that we are playing 2 games at the same time, an almost addicting mix. If you're considering entering the Persona world, you should resort to the new edition. In addition to the text, players can look forward to a 3rd school semester. For example, another story section that extends the campaign by 25 hours of play. Total playing time is now around 125 hours. A big JRPG package. With Kazumi, there is also a fresh and pretty cool party member. There are new personas, enemies, weapons and more. The number 1 game on this list, in my opinion, is Ghost of Tsushima. The open world game of Ghost of Tsushima is the 2nd game from developer Sucker Punch for the PlayStation 4 of the infamous Second Son. The foil action adventure sends us to the eponymous Japanese island of Tsushima in the 13th century and takes historical events as the basis for a fictional samurai story. In a major attack by the Mongols on the island of the coast of Japan, the outnumbered samurai were almost completely wiped out in a cruel battle. Only the hero Jin Sakai and his uncle survive. The aim now is to liberate Jin's homeland from the Mongolian armed forces. Ghost of Tsushima is Assassin's Creed Japan we've always wanted. In addition to its wonderful and incredible atmosphere, game world, the exciting characters and the gripping and extremely varied sword combat